Eli had always been the curious type, but nothing could prepare him for the feelings that arose when Claire moved in next door. At 48, she was a striking woman, her beauty marked by a graceful maturity that intrigued him. With her dark hair cascading down her back and a figure that exuded both confidence and vulnerability, Claire captivated Eli's attention from the moment she arrived. As the weeks passed, Eli noticed more about Claire. She often sat on her porch, staring into the distance as if lost in thought. Occasionally, she'd glance at her phone, but the messages never seemed to come. It was as if she was waiting for something or someone to fill the void in her life. Eli learned from neighborhood whispers that Claire had recently gone through a tough divorce, leaving her alone in a large house filled with memories. One sultry summer evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the street was painted in hues of orange and pink, Eli found himself sitting at his bedroom window. The warm breeze wafted through, carrying the scent of blooming flowers. He had intended to read a book, but his eyes kept drifting to Claire's window. The curtain was slightly parted, and he felt a familiar tug of curiosity. Eli leaned closer, heart pounding in his chest. He knew he shouldn't be watching, he knew that. Yet he couldn't help himself. He was captivated by Claire, drawn in by the vulnerability he sensed behind her poised exterior. Suddenly, the light in her room flickered on, illuminating her figure as she stood in front of her dresser. Eli's breath hitched as he realized she was about to change clothes. As Claire began to undress, Eli felt a rush of heat rise to his cheeks. She slipped off her blouse, revealing smooth, tan skin that glowed in the soft light. Eli's heart raced. He felt guilty yet entranced by the sight of her vulnerability. She moved with a natural grace, her silhouette framed against the window, casting an alluring shadow that sent shivers down his spine. For a moment he hesitated, wrestling with the urge to look away. But Claire seemed completely unaware of his gaze, lost in her own world as she rummaged through her wardrobe. She slipped into a fitted tank top that hugged her curves, and Eli felt a pull in his stomach, a mix of desire and compassion. She looked so lonely, so isolated in her beautiful house. Eli watched as Claire moved about her room, occasionally glancing at her reflection in the mirror, a faint sadness lingering in her eyes. It struck him then that she wasn't just a woman he found attractive, she was someone who needed connection, someone whose heart ached for companionship. He felt a sudden urge to reach out, to bridge the gap that separated them. The image of Claire lingered in his mind long after the evening faded into night. He tossed and turned in bed, unable to shake the feeling that he had to do something. Eli knew he had to see her again, to break through the barrier of isolation that surrounded her. The next day he decided to take a bold step. As he passed by her house, he paused and summoned the courage to knock on her door. His heart raced as he stood there, hand poised over the doorbell. Just as he was about to turn away, the door swung open, revealing Claire with a warm smile on her face. "Eli, what a surprise," she said, her voice soft and inviting. She wore a casual sundress that accentuated her figure, and Eli felt his breath catch in his throat. "Hi, Claire," he replied, trying to mask his nerves. "I just thought I'd check in on you. See how you're doing." "That's sweet of you. Why don't you come in?" she said, stepping aside to let him enter. Eli stepped into her home, the warmth and scent of lavender filling the air. The living room was beautifully decorated, with plush furniture and family photos that hinted at a life once filled with laughter. As Claire poured them both a glass of iced tea, Eli couldn't help but feel a sense of intimacy growing between them. They chatted comfortably, sharing stories and laughter as they settled into the cozy atmosphere. Eli was surprised at how easy it was to talk to her. He felt an undeniable connection forming. With every shared smile, he could see the sadness in her eyes begin to fade, replaced by a spark of joy. "So what do you do for fun, Eli?" Claire asked, her gaze locked onto his, making him feel seen in a way he hadn't experienced before. "I like to paint," Eli confessed, a bit shy. "It helps me express what I feel. I even have a small studio in my room." "Really? I'd love to see your work someday," Claire said, her eyes sparkling with genuine interest. "Art has a way of connecting us, doesn't it?" Eli nodded, feeling a warmth spread through him. "Yeah, it really does." As the conversation flowed, Eli's gaze kept drifting to her hands, slender fingers that spoke of grace and elegance. The sun began to set outside, casting a warm glow that enveloped them in a soft light. It was then that Eli decided to take a risk. He reached out and gently placed his hand over Claire's. "Claire, I can't help but feel that you deserve to be happy," he said softly, his heart racing. "You're an amazing person and I want to be here for you." Claire's eyes widened in surprise, but then she smiled, a glimmer of warmth lighting up her features. "Eli, you're so sweet. I didn't expect this, but it means a lot to me." Emboldened by her response, Eli leaned in closer, their faces mere inches apart. "Can I kiss you?" he whispered, his heart pounding in his chest. Claire hesitated for just a moment before nodding, her breath hitching in anticipation. Eli closed the distance, capturing her lips in a gentle, tentative kiss. It was soft at first, a question posed in the quiet of the room, but as Claire responded, deepening the kiss, Eli felt a rush of warmth wash over him. They lost themselves in the kiss, a mixture of longing and affection intertwining as they embraced the moment. Eli felt a sense of euphoria that he had never experienced before, as if they were breaking through the walls that had kept them apart for so long. As they finally pulled away, breathless, Eli looked into Claire's eyes and saw a flicker of hope. "I want to be the person you can lean on," he said softly. "You're not alone anymore." Claire smiled, a tear glistening in her eye. "I never expected to feel this way again. Thank you for being here, Eli." Days turned into weeks, and their bond deepened with each passing moment. Eli became a regular presence in Claire's life, spending afternoons together, sharing stories, and exploring the depths of their emotions. They found comfort in each other, each kiss igniting a spark that brought them closer. One rainy afternoon they found themselves huddled on Claire's couch, wrapped in a soft blanket while a romantic movie played on the screen. The sound of raindrops pattering against the window created a cozy atmosphere, and Eli glanced over at Claire, who was watching the film with rapt attention. "Hey, do you mind if I ask you something?" Eli said, turning to her. "Of course. What's on your mind?" Claire replied, her eyes glimmering with curiosity. "What do you miss the most about being in a relationship?" he asked gently, wanting to understand her heart better. Claire's expression shifted as she thought for a moment. "I miss the little things," she began. "The shared laughter, the quiet moments, and the feeling of being wanted. It's easy to forget that you're not alone when you're with someone who cares." Eli's heart ached at her words, understanding the depth of her loneliness. "I can only imagine how hard that must be," he said softly. "But I want you to know that you're not alone anymore. I'm here for you." Claire looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You have no idea how much that means to me, Eli. You're such a bright light in my life." Their conversation continued, growing more intimate as they shared their hopes and fears. Eli found himself reaching for her hand, intertwining their fingers as he spoke. With every gentle squeeze he felt a deeper connection forming, one that transcended their age difference. As the movie played on, Eli turned to Claire, leaning in closer. "Can I kiss you again?" he asked, his voice a low whisper. Claire's smile widened, her eyes sparkling with warmth. "Yes, please," she said, leaning in to meet him halfway. Their lips connected again, this time with more urgency, a mix of passion and tenderness. Eli wrapped his arms around Claire, pulling her closer as they melted into each other. The kiss deepened, exploring the uncharted territory of their desires, and Eli could feel the heat radiating between them. As they pulled away, breathless and smiling, Claire rested her forehead against his. "You make me feel alive again, Eli," she admitted, her voice soft and sincere. "I feel the same way," Eli replied, his heart swelling with emotion. "Being with you is everything I didn't know I needed." As weeks turned into months, their relationship blossomed. They spent lazy afternoons painting together in Eli's room, with Claire guiding his strokes as he learned to express himself through art. Eli found joy in the simple act of creating alongside Claire, whose laughter echoed in the room, filling the space with warmth and love. Their playful banter often led to spontaneous moments of closeness, as they shared stories about their lives, dreams, and aspirations. One sunny afternoon while painting, Eli looked over at Claire, her brow furrowed in concentration as she carefully added delicate strokes to her canvas. A sudden impulse overcame him, and he set down his brush. "Hey, how about we take a break and go for a walk?" he suggested, hoping to spend more intimate time with her. Claire looked up, her face lighting up with excitement. "That sounds perfect. I could use some fresh air." They walked through the nearby park, the sun filtering through the leaves, creating dappled patterns on the ground. The conversation flowed easily between them, filled with laughter and shared stories. Eli felt his heart soar with every shared smile, every gentle touch as their hands brushed against each other. As they walked, they came upon a secluded spot under a large oak tree. The sight of the tree's sprawling branches and soft grass beckoned them to sit. They settled down side by side, enjoying the peacefulness of the moment. Claire leaned back against the tree, her eyes closed, soaking in the sun. Eli watched her, mesmerized by her beauty, feeling grateful for the time they shared. After a moment, he couldn't resist any longer. He reached over and gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers grazing her cheek. Claire opened her eyes, a surprised smile spreading across her face. "What was that for?" she asked playfully, a teasing glint in her eyes. "Just because," Eli replied, feeling a warmth spread through him. "You deserve to be appreciated." "Eli, you have a way with words," Claire said softly, her gaze steady on him. "I'm so glad you're in my life." As if drawn by an invisible force, they leaned in closer, and Eli's heart raced as he brushed his lips against hers in a soft, lingering kiss. Claire's eyes fluttered shut, and she melted into him, deepening the kiss. Eli could feel the warmth radiating between them, a sweet connection that enveloped them in a bubble of bliss. They pulled away, breathless and grinning at each other. Eli's heart raced with exhilaration, and he could see the happiness shining in Claire's eyes. "I've never felt this way before," he confessed, feeling vulnerable but open. "You make me feel alive." Claire nodded, her expression softening. "You've brought joy back into my life, Eli. I didn't think I could feel this way again after everything." Their eyes locked, and in that moment, they both knew they had crossed a threshold. The connection they shared had grown deeper than either of them had anticipated. As the days turned into weeks, they continued to explore their feelings. They spent countless evenings wrapped up in each other's arms, sharing kisses that grew more passionate with each passing moment. Each time their lips met, Eli felt as if he were discovering new parts of Claire, layers of her soul that she had kept hidden. One night, after a lovely dinner at a cozy restaurant, they returned to Claire's home. The atmosphere was electric, filled with unspoken desires. As they settled on the couch, the soft glow of the lamp illuminated the room, creating an intimate ambience that made Eli's heart race. Claire leaned closer, her fingers tracing patterns on Eli's knee. "I've never felt so connected to someone before," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Eli felt a thrill run through him. "Neither have I," he admitted. "You mean so much to me, Claire." With that, he leaned in, capturing her lips in a kiss that ignited the passion they had been building. Their kisses became more urgent, more heated, as if they were trying to convey all the unexpressed emotions that had been simmering beneath the surface. Eli's hands found their way to Claire's waist, pulling her closer. He could feel the warmth of her body against his, and it sent waves of desire coursing through him. Claire responded by deepening the kiss, her fingers threading through his hair, holding him to her as if he might disappear. The world outside faded away, and all that existed was the two of them, wrapped up in each other's warmth. Eli's hands traveled up her back, feeling the softness of her skin beneath her clothes, the thrill of exploration coursing through him. He wanted to savor every moment, every touch and every kiss. As they pulled apart, gasping for breath, Claire looked into Eli's eyes with a mixture of desire and tenderness. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice slightly shaky. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life," Eli replied, his gaze steady and sincere. "I want you, Claire. I want all of you." With a nod, Claire's eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Then let's take it slow," she suggested. "I want to savor this with you." They shared a knowing smile, the anticipation palpable as they began to explore the depths of their connection. They kissed again, and Eli felt as if he were melting into Claire. Every kiss was an invitation to delve deeper, to share more of themselves. Over the following weeks, Eli and Claire took their time, creating a foundation built on trust and intimacy. They would spend evenings watching movies, their fingers intertwined, whispering sweet nothings in the dim light. They shared their dreams, their fears, and the warmth of their hearts became a safe haven for each other. One evening, while the sun set outside, casting a golden glow into Claire's living room, they cuddled up on the couch, watching a romantic movie. As the characters on screen kissed passionately, Eli turned to Claire, his heart full of affection. Do you think we could ever be like that? He asked, his voice a mix of playfulness and seriousness. Claire smiled, her eyes sparkling. I think we already are. We just have to keep nurturing it. Emboldened by her words, Eli leaned in, capturing her lips again, the kiss deepening as they lost themselves in each other. The passion that ignited between them felt electric, and Eli felt alive with every touch, every caress. In the weeks that followed, their relationship blossomed into something beautiful. They ventured on spontaneous dates, explored nearby towns, and danced in the kitchen to their favorite songs. With every passing moment, Eli fell more in love with Claire, his heart swelling with joy. One evening they found themselves at the beach, the waves crashing gently against the shore. The sun was setting, painting the sky in vibrant shades of orange and pink. It was the perfect moment, and Eli took Claire's hand, pulling her closer as they walked along the shoreline. Claire, he began, pausing to gaze into her eyes. I never imagined I would find someone like you. You've brought so much happiness into my life. Tears glistened in Claire's eyes as she smiled. Eli, you've changed my life in ways I can't describe. You make me feel young and loved again. With a surge of emotion, Eli leaned down, capturing her lips in a sweet kiss. The world around them faded, and in that moment, they were the only two souls that mattered. As they pulled away, Claire wrapped her arms around him, resting her head on his shoulder. Promise me we'll never lose this connection, she whispered. Never, Eli vowed, holding her tightly. You mean too much to me. In the months that followed, their bond only grew stronger. They navigated the ups and downs of life together, supporting each other through challenges and celebrating triumphs. Claire felt lighter, and the weight of her past began to lift as Eli filled her life with love and laughter. And one night, as they lay together under a blanket of stars, Eli turned to Claire, a serious expression on his face. Can I ask you something? He said softly. Of course, she replied, her heart racing. Where do you see us heading? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Claire took a deep breath, contemplating his question. I see us growing together, creating a future that's bright and full of love. I've never felt this way about anyone, Eli. Eli smiled, feeling a surge of hope. I feel the same. I want to build a life with you. They leaned in for another kiss, and in that moment, the world outside faded away, leaving only the two of them and the undeniable bond they had created. Through every kiss, every gentle touch, and every shared laugh, Eli and Claire discovered the beauty of love, an unexpected connection that brought healing, joy, and a sense of belonging to both their lives.